Hey guys, welcome to another video today. Today we are going to be looking at Sam Does Arts with a video called Pixar is in Big Trouble. To be honest, I heard this movie was not doing very good. I wouldn't mind watching it. And I personally don't mind the art style of the beans or whatever people call it, but we'll see. We'll see. At the end of the day, it looks like I'm the majority here. My majority? I think so. That's the word. Yeah. So let's get into this video and see what this gentleman has to say about Pixar, because they're not looking too good right now.
What's up, guys? Welcome. So, today I want to talk about an interesting topic that I saw recently. Pixar just released a new movie called Elio. Is that how you say it? I don't know. But this movie here is making headlines not because of how good it is, but because it had the worst box office opening ever.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. 21 mil. I wouldn't mind 21 mil, but for I wonder how much it costs actually.
For a Pixar film. So naturally, as an artist, I'm very interested in the animation industry and what's going on here, so I wanted to dive into this a little bit more. Now, one of the consensus here is that it's a marketing related issue, and I would partially agree with this because I personally didn't see one single.
I wonder how extremely important marketing is for like these big companies that make like Pixar and Disney and stuff. It seems like maybe regardless of how big you are, but then again, everyone buys root beer, right? But they never have commercials.
Ad. Someone said didn't even know it was out. Where's the marketing? But like I said, I feel like that's only a part of it, and here's where the tea gets a little bit warmer. This movie looks
Ooh.
like it was made for Disney Plus, and can Pixar stop using whatever this animation is? Which is of course in reference to the character design and art style.
Uh, yeah, I don't mind the art style, but that's just me. Though at the end of the day, they used to have like each movie had like it's sort of its own art style to a degree. Like each character would have like different face like body styles and all that jazz, and a lot of it I guess seems like it's just pretty much the same character design.
Used in this movie. Someone said Nemo, Wally, Toy Story, and Brave all resonated with all audiences because they were more mature in their storytelling
Oh,
and
holy cow! Would say Wally's still one of my top movies ever. So good.
the design.
Toy Story though, I never really got into.
Not for real, I'm so tired of this bean mouth tired of
That's what it was. Bean Mouth.
bean mouth, Play-Doh, Gumby body animation, regardless of what story is told. What the F happened to Pixar's art style, bro? People are tired of this art style. It's lazy, ugly, and devoid of cultural differences between humans. Someone said, I'm so glad this PowerPoint art style will end with this movie. Zero
I had something. My brain went blank.
sauce. This was a really funny response to the original post that just says Grubhub perks give you deals on the food you love, which is in
Let's
reference to
let's actually figure out how much Elio cost to make. Okay, so animation budget was 150 million. Oh gosh. Cost has been higher, potentially exceeding 200 million. Oh boy. Oh, that's rough.
a very ugly Grubhub ad,
Ah,
which is titled Delivery Dance, and you can find it on YouTube. Now, funny enough, that aired in 2020, and it just so happens that Pixar started doing this type of style after 2020. Maybe they're copying Grubhub. I don't
Grubhub started a trend that no one wanted. Screw you, Grubhub. I don't know what you are, but I'm never gonna watch you.
Here's a response to that saying, I hate the Steven Universe type style. And on the left, you see
I feel I feel like a movie and a cartoon should sort of be its own thing. Maybe that's a bad take.
three movies, Elio, Luca, and Turning Red. And honestly, yeah, they do have a very similar type of art style that I personally do not find appealing either.
Like Steven Universe, Amazing World of Gumball, they had like the same bean type face. And I enjoyed the shows. Uh, yeah, yeah. I think that's a trend that might have to be moved on. I think people are, yeah. You can only do one animation type for so long, and then people are like, okay, let's do something new.
Either. But on the contrary, I do think it looks pretty good in the 2D animation form. The art style is
Yeah.
buns. Somebody said, don't even think actually advertising this film would have saved it. The kind of deals that make you boogie. And there's a little clip from the Grubhub ad that people are comparing this
What is this Grubhub thing?
movie style to. He looks like he'd fit perfectly in a modern Pixar.
Is it like a Burger King ad? Chat, can you let me know?
movie, and I don't know if I should be saddened or humored or both by this fact. Someone said stop hating on the bean mouth. We love the bean mouth. But you know the problem with that is
Oh yeah, Gravity Falls also had the bean mouth. You know what? Gravity Falls, I loved it. Still one of my favorite cartoons series.
I think
Still has my favorite villain. If you guys haven't known.
a lot of these bean mouth characters really work because they are 2D animations. And you probably see this with live action Disney
Yeah,
remakes too. But
when it comes to animation styles, I feel like you can get away with a handful of things to a degree when it comes like certain things that get supposed when it comes to 2D. But there's things that 3D can do better that 2D can't.
But with 2D animations, you can get away with more fun and quirky and spontaneous feeling
Frick,
character
I'm not even
designs
recording.
and story
Damn
arcs.
it.
And that's a big reason
That's
why
okay.
these types of designs really work in 2D animation. But of course, at this point, I thought to myself, this is Twitter, and people on Twitter are probably going to just complain about anything and everything. So I ventured to some of the other cesspools of the internet where people like to discuss these topics, and behold, more of the same complaints. Tip for Pixar,
Oh
stop
boy.
using the same art style. Their style is just boring now. It worked in the 2010s, but now we have Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots. I don't think Pixar is used to competition. They got too comfortable.
How far when did that whole bean mouth thing start? 2010s. Adventure Time didn't have it. I guess Gravity Falls came out in like 2012 or like 2014 or something like that.
I think even with marketing, people just wouldn't care for this movie. So because I'm nosy and I like to go down these rabbit holes and get all up in other people's business, I went and researched the history of all Pixar movies from their very first film, which is Toy Story,
Wait, Toy Story is their first ever film? I thought Pixar was older than 1995.
released in 1995. First of all, that is insane. I can't believe it's been 30 years. What the But here's the thing, from that very first release, Pixar has always been a 3D animation studio. And
Souls was good. Cars is good. Wall-E is amazing. Finding Nemo's pretty darn good. Up's not too bad. Ratatouille, not too bad. Never watched Coco. The Invincibles, it's not too bad.
for 22
Luca, it wasn't too bad.
years, all the way from 1995 to 2017, from Toy Story to Coco, I don't think anybody ever complained about Pixar being a 3D animation studio and doing 3D animation styles. Now, I'm of the firm belief
Okay, one thing I absolutely love that some videos and stuff are doing lately is 2D and 3D mixed. I think that looks really good.
that the reason we didn't complain about their 3D animation style is because they had genuinely good character designs. Every film was unique. Every character's design was iconic.
Yo, imagine these guys with the bean mouth.
Think Mike Wazowski.
I feel like that'd
from
be pretty
Monsters,
cursed.
Inc., Lightning McQueen from Cars. I mean, picture the characters from Finding Nemo, from The Incredibles, and Wall-E. How could
Cars is like top tier.
you ever forget
Nothing, no animation movie like trilogy. Like my favorite trilogy from animated movies would have to be How to Train Your Dragon. Nothing's gonna top that for me, at least not for a very long time.
about Wall-E? These characters were designed so differently from each other, and they were so iconic in their appearance. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
people are complaining about the art style, not exactly because it's an art style that they've always used for the last 30 years, but because it's actually genuinely gotten worse. They've lost the sauce. Just look at the movie Coco, for example, which I adore, and it came out in 2017. There were
Jeez.
so expressive, so animated, and their visual design actually directly reflects the culture of the characters. I personally thought Coco was a fantastic movie, and then from that point on,
Yeah, I still gotta watch that.
from 2020 onwards, no pun intended, Pixar gave us the movie Onward. They gave us Soul, they gave us Turning Red,
Onward was Soul, like I said, was good. This one,
Lightyear Elemental,
I didn't care for Lightyear. This one wasn't too bad.
and Inside Out 2. And now just
Still have to watch that one.
Most recently, we're getting Elio. Now, within those movies that I've just listed, I think the new Pixar style
Giving
that people are
Topaz little head
complaining about
rubs.
nowadays began with Luca in 2021, and they kept it going with Turning Red in 2022. And this specific style is what people are responding really negatively to. And I can't blame people for feeling this way because when I saw the trailers for Luca, for Turning Red, and for Elio, I was just completely not enticed. So
Yeah, I definitely get it. I think the next movie needs to have a new animation style. Uh, just a repeat of the same thing. Definitely, I can see getting old.
someone said, I know it's a kid's movie, but man, even by those standards, it looks too babyish animation wise. The animation looks unappealing, and unappealing is the perfect word for it because visually there is just nothing there for us to latch onto, especially.
I wonder if they do that, doing that art style because it's cheaper, and then they're just being a little bit more greedy, to try and save money where they can. I'm going to assume that's the whole jazz on that. Why they're still sticking with that art style.
Especially as adults. And one could argue that this is supposed to be a kids movie, so why do we care about it? But what I've noticed, especially with animated films, is that a really good classic animation doesn't just entertain kids, it also makes parents want to take their kids so they have an excuse.
Yeah, I think any anime thing designed for kids also needs to be for adults. Because it's gonna be a lot harder to bring people to the theaters if the adults know like, oh, I'm gonna be in misery for an hour and a half, and then just tell the kids like, no, we'll just wait till it comes out on like a streaming service or DVD or whatnot.
To see that movie. Think, for example, the Spider-Verse movies or even Puss in Boots: The Last Wish,
Puss in
which
Boots
is
is
again a
good,
fantastic movie. So you guys can let me
marvelous.
know what you think about this too in the comments, but
I
at
just
the
like
end
how
of
they
the
had the
day, I
German
think
death.
the monumental flop of this new Pixar IP is probably due to a wide variety of reasons, like no marketing, everything now being on Disney Plus, so people have less incentive to actually go see things in theaters, as well as a serious lack of visual appeal. If you look at something like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, you can clearly see that the character designs are simple and their silhouettes
I thought Death was so cool. I still refuse to say he's a villain. He's just doing his job.
are very intentional. There's a level of anthropomorphication here that makes these characters really resonate with the viewer. Take something like Arcane, for example. You're getting
Another beautiful series.
a much more realistic style for each character. You're getting something a lot more complex as well.
This one has the 3D and 2D mixed together, which I think looks absolutely marvelous.
But each character still remains simple and iconic in their own theme. With teal hair and purple shorts, you can immediately recognize Jinx. Even in Coco, Miguel with his guitar and all the skeleton motifs that you see in that movie, it's iconic. And it's simple, it's straightforward, it knows exactly what it wants to be. The same thing could be said for the character designs from WALL-E, from Toy Story, from Find.
What's this giant black thing? Is this like a drawing tablet? Is this a monitor? Looks so unique. Interesting. Sorry, I got distracted.
Nemo. But now, if we just turn our attention back to the films Elio, Turning Red, and Luca, and we completely ignore the stories and just
See, I think if they had just this film with that bean mouth and then change the designs for these two, we wouldn't have this problem.
look at the visual appeal of the characters, there is clearly something lacking here. I mean, you can compare these characters to some of the older characters that Pixar used to make, like maybe think about the movie Up, Carl, Russell, Charles. You could argue that it's a very
Imagine having to animate each frame with these little pins. I feel like that would have been a little tedious.
similar type of polished 3D animation style, but what sets up apart from these post 2020 Pixar movies is the character designs, right? Carl is so distinct, you can recognize him anywhere. And then you have
Yep.
Russell with the funniest proportions, just
I am a wilderness explorer. Could I help you cross your yard?
the cute, cuddly little dumpling kid. I mean, even
Little
Doug, you
dumpling
can tell
kid.
these characters are designed extremely skillfully in a way that makes them instantly recognizable just by a silhouette. Now let's look at Elio, let's look at Turning Red, let's look at Luca. These characters, if I were to
They look like they could just all be in the same movie, you know?
black them out and just hand you all of their silhouettes on a platter, you would not be able to know who's who. And not even just the silhouette. If you look at the features of these characters and take in their design as a whole, there is a clear lack of creativity, especially when you compare it to some of Pixar's older films. I'm not
No,
gonna
I
lie,
see
this
it.
might just be my personal opinion, but when I see an image like this of the character Elio, this does not entice me to go see this movie at all. Not a single cell in my body wants to move my ass off this seat and head
Wait, is the kid wearing Crocs? No, he's got shoes. He's got shoes.
to
Good.
the theaters for this. What is that on his head? Why does he have spoons and forks on his shoulder plates?
He's autistic.
From an artist's perspective, this just feels like a design that didn't know exactly what it wanted to be, so it just became everything. Same thing with May from Turning Red. Now, completely ignoring the story and everything, when I saw the trailer, the most exciting thing that I saw was the CN Tower in Toronto. As an Asian person, I find no part of this character's
Wait,
design
he's
resonating
Asian?
with me whatsoever. It's just generic, for the lack of a better term. I mean, the costume feels generic to me. The proportions feel generic to me. It pains me to say this because I used to always look up to Pixar for inspiration. Pixar was always known to push proportions. You know, they make these iconic character designs like you see in The Incredibles, right? Just think of the silhouette, right? You know
I suppose there's a bunch of like, yeah, I get it.
exactly what Edna looks like because she's got such a striking silhouette and it's something that ties to and matches her personality just perfectly. Now, it is my sincerest hope that Pixar as a studio can bounce back from this monumental failure. The people
Oh, I'm sure they will. They'll be like, oh, well, this isn't selling, and they're gonna either A, blame the story and focus on a better story and keep the same animation or something like that, or they'd be like, oh, it looks like people don't seem to be enjoying this animation style. I think we need to change that up.
online have spoken, and this is clearly just not something that's working for Pixar. Anyways, guys, so I don't know what's happening right now, but Disney, Pixar, they're not doing well. And I hope this is not a signal of the end of days for these animation studios because
I don't think it will. Not yet, at least.
Pixar and Disney have given me some of
But if they don't change anything up and start becoming creative again instead of trying to find a way to make just money, because if they make a movie there, they're not focusing on the money, like making money back, but they're focusing on the story and creativity of the what you can do with animation. Uh, it'll make its money back.
my best childhood memories. You know, these movies meant a lot to me when I was growing up. And I would love nothing more than for kids today to grow up having these amazing pieces of media like we did when we grew up. But so far,
Yeah, I agree. Hey, how are you? I'm absolutely marvelous. Absolutely marvelous, I tell you. Yeah, I feel like when it comes to animation, there's so much you can do with animation. Uh, and I feel like a lot of kids nowadays don't get that magic touch that I feel like we got back in the day. But that could also just be one remembering their childhood and seeing it more than what it was. You know, maybe the anime like the storytelling is roughly the same, but just like I said, since you were a kid, it's just brighter and stuff.
right now, post 2020, Pixar is not looking too hot, guys, and I hope they can turn this around. Anyways, guys, please let me know in the comments what you guys think, whether you agree or disagree with the people online, and whether you agree or disagree with me. Please leave some very harsh
I won't leave you a harsh word, but I like how I left that pause right there with your face. Yeah, no, I think animation studios need to work on being a little bit more creative, stuff like that. Anyways, yeah, that was a good video. I hate that I forgot to record that, which means now I have to go back to the stream later and figure it out.